What up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in. This is Mamba Podcast. For those of you who don't know, my name is Jackson. And this episode, I'll be talking about quite the weekend we had, not just in sports, but in everything else, pretty much. We had probably one of the craziest upsets I can remember in the NBA in a while. I don't think anyone saw the Cavs losing like that, especially with the Celtics not having Isaiah Thomas. And then we saw some other things, like the Saturday Night Live, and the pay-per-view that was Backlash. so yeah, start things off with SNL. I'm gonna preface this real quick. So I don't really watch Saturday Night Live like I used to, and I'm probably not alone in this. I grew up loving Saturday Night Live. Of course, I grew up with the whole like Will Ferrell, Adam Sandler, like the end of the Adam Sandler, Chris Farley, David Spade, Rob Schneider, Chris Rock era, moving into like like the Will Ferrell, Daryl Hammond, Sherry O'Terry, that era. That was when I grew up watching it and like live. And then, of course, I as I got older, I grew up with the there was the young group like Jimmy Fallon, Bill Hader, Fred Armisen, Tina Fey. We pulled all those guys too. So, but growing up, when I was younger, I loved SNL, and I found out my parents had, the VHS. If you, for those of you out there who still know what VHS is, the VHSs of all the old ones, with the original cast like Chevy Chase and Dan Aykroyd, Eddie Murphy, Jim Belushi, and all those guys. And so I really I'm just saying all this to let you know that I do love SNL, and I love everything about it. But recently, it's just, not saying that it's not good. It's just Saturday Night Live is held at this such high standard for, like, it's known as the best in, sketch comedy, improv-ish, and it's like, there's a lot, it could be better than this. They're literally not doing anything other than just reenacting, what's been happening lately. And I get that's what SNL does best, and that's what Lorne Michaels wants to do, is he wants each episode within each season to be like a timestamp of what's going on in not just the world, but in America, or not just in America, but the world at that time. And I get that, so that's why he tries to stay current, and, the whole thing was with Donald Trump, and I get all that. But, by doing that, it just seems, you hear from a lot of people now where they're straying away from Donald Trump and, his whole, presidential party and all his people and all his cronies and all that stuff, because it's just low-hanging fruit. It's not creative. It's old. Part of why he got elected was because of those guys, making a farce out of him and all that stuff. So, while the rest of the world has moved away from him, they've continued to keep doing it. And like I said, I get it. But at the same time, it's like, all right, I'm not alone. I know I'm not alone in a lot of people being turned off by them. I get it. They still get the YouTube views and all that stuff, and they're relevant in the tabloids and all that stuff. And hey, did you see Melissa McCarthy do Sean Spicer and Alec Baldwin do Trump again? Like, I've seen it fucking how many times already now. And on top of that, they keep having to bring in other people like that to be funny, as opposed to the actual cast. And just before I get into what this other stuff, good luck to Saturday Night Live going forward, because this last Saturday's episode was I believe the season finale, and they're losing a lot of talent. Give me a sec to look it up again on who it is. I kept seeing it all throughout the night. And even just the fact that I have to look up, the names of the cast members because I don't even know. I know their faces. Everyone knows their faces, but no one knows their names. It's not a good sign, Um, like I said back then, you knew the names on SNL. You knew everybody. You knew, Chevy Chase, Steve Martin, Dan Aykroyd, Jim Belushi. You knew Will Ferrell, Adam Sandler, Chris Rock, Chris Farley, David Spade, Jimmy Fallon, Bill Hader, Fred Armisen, Tina Fey, Amy Poehler. You know what I mean? You knew all the names. You knew everybody. And now it's like I know their faces. And now they're just a bunch of cast members who are, I mean, that's the guy from SNL, or oh hey, that's the girl from SNL. That's what they've come down to now. But I'm gonna give them their due diligence, and 3 key members, Bobby Moynihan, who is the drunk uncle. For those of you who don't know, he's leaving. Vanessa Bayer, she's leaving. She's the kind of cute one who always giggles and stuff a lot. And Shazir Zamata, who she's the black one, the smaller black girl. They're all leaving. Good luck to all them, but good luck to the people coming in because, I don't know the current state of SNL. I don't know where they're gonna go from here. I mean, they're probably gonna keep doing more of the same old shit, but like I said, if there's anyone who can, get themselves out of a jam and rise to the occasion and continue to be funny, it's Lorne Michaels. But anyway, enough about what I think about it as the current state of SNL. This weekend, a lot of people are asking me about it because it was The Rock, and one, they know I love The Rock. 2, they know I love wrestling, and 3, they know I love SNL. So they asked me what I thought about it. I mean, one of the few people to host it 5 times. Great accomplishment, great for The Rock or Dwayne Johnson, great for all that stuff. And the main thing everyone was saying was about how The Rock's run for president in 2020. Now, I get it. It's cute. It's funny. This and that. I'd vote for him and blah, 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 blah. Three things actually have an issue with this. One, it's all probably, as of now, it's just a work, or it's just all for show. The Rock is literally the biggest movie star in the world, and anything that he says or does, turns to gold. So might as well pretend to run for president or something like this right now to get some more publicity for his movies and stuff like that. It's smart on his end. 2, a lot of people, I think at least a lot of people fail to recognize or fail to realize that The Rock is a Republican. Like a through and through Republican. And, sure, anything's better than Trump. But, a lot of people didn't vote for Trump because they're, racist or closet racists and bigots and stuff like that. I mean, of course, there were those people out there, but a lot of people voted for Trump just because that they're Republican. They don't care that he's, a piece of shit. They just care that he's a Republican, and it's like all the better stuff for taxes and better stuff that benefits the upper middle class and all that stuff, and it helps. Republicans are Republicans because, rich people are Republicans because Republicans are more conservative and they do what they can to keep their money. So essentially, like I said, I'm no freaking government, political, whatever expert, but, there's basics that you understand in politics and, parties and all that stuff. And that's basically it. And The Rock is a very, very, very rich man, and I'm pretty sure he would do whatever he can to keep all the money he can. And, that's the case because like I said, he is a Republican, a very well-known Republican. People say the same thing. Oh, if Stephen Colbert needs to run for president, blah, 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 he would take him down. He's a Republican as well. You know what I mean? So, I mean, you got people before they start, just saying that, saying this and that about who should run this and that. Do your homework first and figure out what you're asking to run, or figure out who you're asking to run for president and stuff before you start saying it and stuff like that. And three, I know it's kind of an old school way of thinking. I get it, but I mean, it's the president of the United States, man, and the last year or so, it's just been a big farce. They've made it such a farce, and all these like celebrities, people who are so unqualified to run for the position, are these becoming the huge front runners. Like they're trying to have The Rock. Donald Trump just won. People saying Kanye needs to run. All this stuff. And like I said, it's cute and it's funny. But I mean, this is the president of the United States. This is the the quote unquote leader of the free world we're talking about here. And sure, they'll be the face of it. Like Donald Trump is just a face for all his cronies to do their dirty work to try and get as much as they can out of to get all their money back that they lost, when Obama was president, trying to help everybody else, not just the top 1%. So, yeah, I mean, a lot going on with SNL. And then, like I said, not to mention the freaking Katy Perry's cringeworthy performance with Migos. I mean, we want to talk about the most cringeworthy thing in 2017, and that's saying a lot considering what's happened so far this year. That might be up there. There's all. I mean, as soon as I saw it, I thought it, but then it was like all the memes going around how she's become Miley Cyrus reincarnated, especially since Miley Cyrus, is back to her old ways, kind of stuff. She's not doing anything else. And there's a whole thing where, Katy Perry's the next pop star to appropriate, hip hop and black culture and stuff like that. And, it's funny because it's true. So yeah, if you haven't seen it yet, I suggest you go to YouTube. And if you really want to feel awkward and all inside, I suggest you look for the Katy Perry Migos performance. Or just the clips. And I'm sure, and if you haven't yet, you're probably living under a rock. But yeah, now moving on to the world of sports. Like I said in the beginning, the Cavs losing to the Celtics without Isaiah Thomas was honestly one of. I can't remember the last time there was a loss like that, that big. I believe the line finished at 16.5, if I'm not mistaken. Excuse me. So I mean, that if for those of you non-gamblers out there, that means that the Cavs were projected to win by 17 points or more, and they ended up losing by 3. So talk about a turnaround. And like I said, especially without Isaiah Thomas, who's arguably their best player. Now, I mean, like I said, I didn't watch the game. I was busy doing some stuff. But, shout out to Zemo Pierto on YouTube. Always coming through in the clutch with the HD highlights and stuff like that. So, big up Zemo Pierto. I got a chance to see the highlights. I saw the game winner and stuff like that, And I look, it was honestly just the perfect storm or unperfect storm, I guess, for the Cavs, where, they just came out looking super flat. They didn't look good. They just looked, like they looked like they bought into their own hype. They played down to the level of the competition, and any of you out there saying that shit ain't real, it's fucking real. If any of you have played sport, if anyone's played sports at any level, whether it's professionally, amateur, even high school, but if you played at a high level, like that playing down to level of competition shit is real. Just like momentum's real, just like all that stuff is real. It's real. And yeah, they just played down to their competition, and who would have thought Marcus Smart would have finally decided to make some threes? That definitely helped. Avery Bradley as well. I mean, the right guys that needed to step up in the absence of Isaiah Thomas definitely stepped up. And like I said, they got to have a little bit of pride. Not going out getting swept or anything like that. They went into Cleveland and told them, "Fuck you! You're not gonna be able to walk all over us." That's pretty much what they said, and they got it done. Now, are they gonna win another one? Probably not. Probably not. Um, just being honest here. I mean, they probably, it was a big wake up call for the Cavs. Um, like I said, they definitely fell asleep at the wheel. And yeah, I mean, if they weren't, if they thought that they were going to be, was going to be a cakewalk, like I said, this definitely was a wake up call for them. And look for the Cavs to go on a tear. Honestly, look for them to go on a tear. They're definitely going to be motivated. I conspiracy theorists out there saying that LeBron did this on purpose, or whoever the guy did it on purpose, to fire them up at the right time, so that way they can, get two more going into the finals. They can be, motivated and stuff again. So, but yeah, I'm no, fortune teller or anything, but I'm pretty sure that tomorrow night the Cavs will have learned from their mistakes and definitely take care of business. All right, and now finally on to the pay-per-view that was WWE Backlash. Now, I'm not going to run through the whole card. It was just whatever. I mean, it had its, I guess, some highs, I guess. I don't know. I don't really know. Shinsuke debuted. Sure. It was probably in the weakest way possible. That's all I got to say about that. I hope they start building up this feud to fight to the, or I hope I hope that they fix everything that's going on right now to the inevitable Shinsuke versus AJ Styles pay-per-view main event at SummerSlam, or excuse me, SmackDown Live main event at WrestleMania. The world wants it. We all know we want it. And if the WWE is smart, which I hope they are, considering what I'm going to get to later, then they need to make this happen. And like I said, speaking of AJ Styles, the match was fine. It should have been a lot better, in my opinion. But the finish of it, it helped keep Kevin Owens on top as a champion. It didn't, AJ Styles didn't lose any credibility because he got stuck, kind of thing. And there was that. Probably, I mean, people are kind of shitting on it, and I get why. But I thought that the tag team match was actually the most entertaining thing of the whole night. With all the stuff that happened. Like I said, I get it. These guys, it should have been taken a little bit more serious considering it was for the championship. But payback. I mean, excuse me, payback last season. Backlash itself was just not good, in my opinion, and in the opinion of many others. And so, I mean, you got to find any kind of, laughs or anything, any chance you can. Especially with the way that it all ended. If you haven't heard, Jinder Mahal is the new WWE champion. The same championship belt that Hulk Hogan held, Bruno Sammartino held, Stone Cold held, Triple H, The Rock, John Cena, The Undertaker, just great names. And I mean, there have been some bad ones too. I can't front. There's been some bad ones too, but I don't know, man. I can't think of a. I mean, look. I get it. India has the biggest social media presence in the WWE out of all the followers. I get that. And they're looking at the numbers and they said, why not, try to make money off this market? I get it. It's a business. Vince McMahon's a businessman before anything. You know what I mean? And I completely understand that. But, who am I to say tell them how to run their their promotion. You know, I mean, I was gonna say there's a way to do it, but it's just, I think what gets everyone so frustrated is that Jinder Mahal was just a jobber for so long, and all of a sudden he just got this massive push, and everyone knew why. He's obviously gearing. I mean, like, yeah, sure. I mean, of course, look, just like any sport, you know, steroids don't make, or performance enhancing drugs didn't make Mark McGwire hit the ball better. They didn't make Barry Bonds hit the ball better. You know, they didn't make Ben Johnson run faster, debatable, but they didn't make him run as fast as he could. They didn't make, Marion Jones run the way she did. They don't make you a better athlete. They just help you with recovery. They help you, pack on size. They help you at least get a certain look, which is all WWE wants. It goes by as a look. You know what I mean? And, I'm not taking anything away. I'm sure Jinder Mahal works very, very hard in the gym. You see all his Instagram posts and stuff. I there's no doubt about it. He put in the work. There's no doubt about that. He put in the work. He's, stays disciplined on his diet. I'm not taking that away from him. But the man, not out of nowhere, but just has veins all over the place. He's shredded and he's, yoked. He's got pretty almost obvious signs of gyno. For those of you who don't know, gyno is when you have essentially man boobs. Now he doesn't have full on tits like me or anything, but I mean you can you can just look, everyone that has gyno, just look around their nipples. Now it's gonna get kind of weird and sexual, and if you don't like it, whatever. I'm just explaining it. Everything is ripped except around his nipple itself is puffy. Like, look at it; it's very obvious. And then his back is just covered in acne scars and acne and stuff. And these are all classic signs of people gearing. And if you don't know, gearing is taking performing enhancers or steroids and stuff like that. Now, he doesn't have to be taking traditional, shot in the ass steroids or anything like that. But he's obviously taking something. It's like you can just look at someone and know when they're taking something. They're supplementing, they're gearing, they're, taking some kind of extra performance enhancer or something. You can tell. You know what I mean? He's got the, Batista is very open about he used to take steroids. His traps and shoulder and delts were huge. Ryback very open about using roids before. Delts and traps and delts were huge. You go to the gym and you see the guy with the huge traps and delts. Chances are he was gearing. Jinder Mahal out of nowhere got really big traps and delts. You know what I mean? Like I said, all the classic signs are there, and I'm not taking that away from him at all. I'm not trying to say he should be disqualified because, that doesn't make him a bad wrestler. But he's a bad wrestler. On top of the fact that they're ignoring the fact that he's gearing and stuff, so that way he can look like this giant, massive superstar for India and stuff. Which also, he's not even from India. He's Canadian, who just happens to be, I think, second or third generation family from India, similar to Russell Peters. And also, just on top of all that, he's not a good wrestler. He's a horrible worker. You know what I mean? He's super stiff, has no ring chemistry. He borderline sandbags guys. He, has a really shit finish. I mean, there's just nothing else. What else is there to say? If you're gonna, you know what I mean? It's like I said, I get you want to take advantage of a huge market in India. I get that. But I mean, at the same time, it's like, what makes people like wrestling is you know what I mean? It's just like any other performance art, like a soap opera, a movie, a TV show, anything that the whole point of it is it has a story to follow. And imagine you're watching your favorite TV show, and then all of a sudden, some random character, some random side character who, got no airtime and stuff like that, all of a sudden was thrown in as in a lead keep role, and then all of a sudden skyrocketed to the top, seemingly out of nowhere with no build up whatsoever. It just happened. You know what I mean? And how would you feel? And the guy itself isn't a good actor. Put it that way. He's not a good actor. You know what I mean? I'm not going to throw names or anything like that, but pick an actor that you don't like, whomever it may be, and imagine in that situation, and he gets the shine over characters or actors or actresses that you like personally and universally known within the community that watches the show deserve to be on top. The whole thing, like I said, it's ironically funny. I get it, that part too, and I get that. I guess this is just the big year of the troll for WWE, with the whole Roman Reigns thing going on and all this stuff, but in the House of Horrors match, and like I don't know, man. It's just it's frustrating, and I mean, look. People are trying to compare this thing to saying, hey, you got to let it play out like Broken Matt Hardy. Not a lot of people liked Broken Matt Hardy at first, but then, after a while it got better. But I get what they're trying to say with that, because I'm in that camp of I thought Broken Matt Hardy was stupid and now I love it. But Matt Hardy was already an established wrestler when he did all that. You know what I mean? It's like he had done stuff. He had taken risks in the past before, and they worked. Whether they worked, just because Vince McMahon didn't like it doesn't mean it didn't work. You know what I mean? There's a lot of great stuff that could have worked in the WWE that Vince McMahon poo-pooed and said no. V1 was funny. All the Matt facts and all that stuff, that was funny. And Matt Hardy really took a lot of risks. As far as with the character development in the past, and they worked, but they just were poo-pooed. And, so you can't really compare the Broken Matt Hardy stuff to this, It's just, no one's asking for this. And maybe he just loses the belt immediately on Thursday again or something in the rematch. I don't know. But then, even then, like, you're going to put it back on Randy Orton? I mean, Randy Orton's done nothing for the belt. He doesn't even want to be a face anymore. He wants to be a heel. Behind the scenes, if you know stuff about wrestling, or if you follow wrestling news and stuff, he's, been a super heel with a whole lot of heel heat on him with all the comments he's made about indie wrestling. So, I mean, just let him be a heel, let him be a heel, and just, sorry about that. I got a little interrupted there, but where was I? Yeah, I mean, Jinder Mahal, man. I mean, I hope it works somehow. Maybe they just have it on him for a little bit, just like I said, just to drive up sales in India, and then they drop it. They have him drop it back to Randy Orton or something. And then Randy Orton can be a heel champion, hopefully. And then, I mean, look, it's all there. The storyline is there now where they can have, on SmackDown, Randy Orton get the belt and be the heel champ now. Just have the belt and be a heel champ and just shit on indie wrestling and stuff like he does in real life all the time. And have AJ Styles defend indie wrestling, which he does all the time. And have AJ Styles be face and stop wasting him on, the U.S. title, because like I said in the earlier podcast, that belt is AJ Styles' belt and everyone knows it, and they need to get it back on AJ Styles. So have him back in the title contention, build up this feud between AJ and indie wrestling with Randy Orton and shitting on indie wrestling, have it play off at SummerSlam, have Randy Orton lose. Have AJ Styles win, keep winning all the way until build the thing up into SummerSlam, into WrestleMania with Shinsuke. It's all right there. That would It just almost makes too much sense, you know? And then you can have, apparently they're trying to push Sami Zayn. He got a clean win over Baron Corbin, which was really weird. But, if you're reading between the lines, if, WWE is trying to push WWE India, so they gave the belt on Jinder Mahal. They also are trying to do, if I'm not mistaken, it's WWE Israel or Middle East. Like I say, you can fact check me later. But Sami Zayn's the face of it. Because he is, for those who don't know, he is from Syria. And so they're trying to push, WWE in the Middle East. And so obviously it seems like, all of a sudden they gave Sami Zayn a clean victory on a pay-per-view over Baron Corbin. So, I mean, maybe they're going to try to give him the U.S. Championship or something. I don't know. But yeah, like I said, there's a whole lot that could go that they could do right now with the current state of wrestling, but yeah, I mean, but instead Jinder Mahal is our champion. I mean, what else can you say? What else can you say other than I hope WWE knows what they're doing? Oh, and I'd also be I'd feel really wrong to not shout out easily the match of the year so far, and potentially the match of the year, between Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne, because that was a hell of a match. NXT continues to put on the match of the year, and I mean, that was a great match. I've already seen it like 3 times. I mean, it had everything. I mean, it had JR on commentary to start the whole damn thing. Had great technical wrestling, had a bunch of good false finishes and a bunch of big spots, and, the crowd was really into it. And ultimately, the right guy won. You know what I mean? Pete Dunne is super over, even though he's supposed to be the heel. But yeah, man, I highly, highly, highly suggest you find that match somewhere, or the highlights of it, something like that. Like I said, easily match of the year. All right, so that's it. I just wanted to recap the wild what the F weekend we kind of had. And, like always, if you like what you heard, go ahead and like, subscribe, share, and, comment whether you thought, it was just as, whether you said what the fuck as many times as I did, whether you agree with me or not on how I feel about SNL, whether you think the Cavs are going to, keep playing down like this, or they're actually going to rise above, which, I mean, they probably will. And, also mainly whether you think Backlash was, as bad as I thought it was. Surprisingly, some people who, I really, whose opinions I really respect and stuff on Twitter and other platforms like that, thought Backlash wasn't too bad. So, you best believe I'm going to be tuning into whatever platform they're on to figure out what to hear their takes on it. And yeah, like I said, subscribe, like, share, comment. Thanks for listening. How you're listening. Thanks for watching. How you're watching. I've been gonna be a little busy this week, so I won't have another one. But just want to give another shout out to all the grads out there, especially my younger brother Spence. Proud of you, man. And like I said, all the other grads out there, graduating class 2017. Congrats. Have fun looking for jobs and paying off the rest of the loans for the rest of your life. So yeah, like I said, congrats to all those guys. And like always, catch you guys in the next one. Peace.